Sure.
And then you'll go with first question, or you want me to?
Sure, I'll go first question. This
Okay.
is super official, as you guys can see. We're very organized on all this. All right, cool. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everyone, to the Culinary Now podcast. I'm Matt Britt.
And I'm Jamie Schick. And today we are joined with our friends and colleagues, Tim Brown and Joe Melanson. So welcome, both of you. We're so glad to have you here with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Happy to be here.
So, chefs, I want to jump in real fast and just talk about kind of the reason you're here. And it's because of a project that you started a few years ago now, which seems crazy, which is the Johnson and Wales Wildcat Food Rescue Club. And I know we have two of you here, so I'll just ask, Tim, tell us a little bit about the club, and maybe Joe, then you can jump in about why you started it and so on.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Matt. So, Joe and I started talking about food waste some years ago, and we were trying to figure out a way on what we could do with it and how we could assess it and measure it. And we started with, like most projects, right? We started with this crazy idea where we were asking faculty to separate their waste, put it on a speed rack for us on trays, and then we would ask them to weigh it and then log how much they weighed and before it went down to the pig bucket. And the idea behind that was if we knew what we were wasting, we could present and say, hey, this is what the waste looks like. Is there something we can do about it? Well, the more complicated you make things, the harder it is to get people to buy in. So it kind of fell by the wayside for a year. And then after COVID, when we came back, Joe came to me and said, I think I've got something figured out that we could, it's a lot more simpler. And so that's how the club started, because it's important to students too, as well as it is to Joe and I. And so we started the process that we do now. And Joe, I'll let Joe speak to that a little bit, but it certainly it's going a lot better. And I think Joe can attest. It was, if we think back, I was just cleaning up my office the other day and I found a stack of logs from people writing carrot peels and apple cores and all of this. And we, 3 apple cores, and it was kind of crazy, but our process is way simpler now. And again, let Joe can speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah, I was in a meeting with leadership because of USC, and there was a question in the suggestion box from a student, why can't we take our leftover food home? And it just, like a light bulb went off and said, oh, Tim and I had it wrong about trying to save, scraps and use them. And I said, oh, yeah, we're throwing out all that uneaten food from family meal and whatnot. So then I asked Dean Evans to meet and pitched him the idea. And again, Tim and I were basing it off food waste. And then Dean Evans said, oh, there's a huge initiative here at the university behind the scenes talking about food insecurity. So it was awesome that he gave us that idea as well. And we're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone with both food waste and insecurity on campus.
That was actually going to be my question, was there an issue you were seeing on campus that needed to be solved that this is solving? But I think you just answered it, that the food waste and the food insecurity among our students. So can you talk about how students are benefiting from this program, both being a part of the club and then from what you're doing with the food waste that you're rescuing?
So, yeah, I mean, there's 2 social issues that we're tackling. And I was actually shocked after I met with Dean Evans and he talked about food insecurity. And I just kind of did some research about food insecurity in our country and on campuses. I mean, it's estimated that in the U.S., 40% of the college students have food insecurities. I mean, that's a huge number across our country. So, and then I found out, because, again, being on USC behind the scenes, that we have several students on the Culinary campus that have food insecurities. They opened up the dining rooms. So I was shocked, and I'm glad that we could provide this. And some of our colleagues, too, in meetings said they were shocked at how many students actually have food insecurities, and that this is such a great service,
So,
it's
Joe,
great for the students.
Let me ask you a question, though, because this is interesting. I get food waste, right? We're a culinary school. There's a ton of scraps, and the school has long had some good practices about donating those to farms, because if you can't feed humans, feed animals, which then maybe kind of circles back. But the idea of food insecurity at a culinary school, I mean, you talked about the whole country, like that, to me, even though I know the work you're doing and I see it, it completely baffles my mind. Like, how like how daunting was that to sort of get your head around? And I'll ask Tim about this because Jody, you just kind of weighed in. How hard was it to get your head around that, and how did that shape how you built the club that you're doing?
Yeah, so I think when Joe came to me and it's like we're doing this all backwards. Um, let's see what we can rescue with. I don't want to say minimal of effort, but with no more processing, right? Because processing takes time and energy and labor, and we know that, right? Like so, I was like, yeah, I think that's a really great idea. And so when we started looking into it, we realized that if you need to teach a student how to roast a chicken, that student has to roast a chicken. So you can have 18 chickens, right? Or however many you have in your class. And then maybe some students can eat a whole chicken in one sitting. I don't know, but generally you sit down, you have maybe you have a breast, or maybe you have a thigh and a drumstick and some rice if you've got made rice or potatoes or whatever, right? And you have this nice family meal around the table. What happens to the rest of that chicken? Right? It's cooked. It's ready to go. It's probably delicious. It's probably well seasoned and all of that. So that's where we started to think, wait a second, why can't we just repack, right? So most food insecurity organizations, nonprofits, that's how they start, right? They find donations, right? Whether it's the peanut butter company gives them Charles of peanut butter, and maybe Khaleesi Bakery gives them bread, and then they put these sandwiches together, for example, and they give them out. Where we were looking at what can we take the waste, can we take the carrot peels or whatever, and can we make something that's edible? But we already have all this edible food ready to go. And so that's when we started focusing on let's collect all this food that is considered still usable or recoverable for human consumption, and let's repack that into meals. And then let's give those meals away, right? I
So
mean,
it,
I can't believe we didn't think about this first, Joe. To be honest with you, I can't believe we
Yeah.
went around the whole block to come back to where we are. But anyway, we're there now, and then getting students involved, right? And the best way to do that on our campus is to create a club.
yeah.
And we found some students that were really passionate. The one girl, she was from the sustainability club, and that's how we kind of built it. And it's super amazing to me the traction that it's got over a short 18 months. We've probably been in business about almost 2 years. I just the comments, the reflections, the referrals of people to help and for students to help. It's unlike a club I've ever run. And as you guys know, I was the original coach for the JW Rugby Club, and even with a sport like that that's growing so fast, we never had as much. I mean, faculty, staff stopping me in the corridors, right?
Yeah.
The JW Weekly did a piece on Joe and I must have got, I don't know, 15 or 20 comments back from faculty I've never even met,
Right.
just saying, "Hey, this is so great, thanks so much." So it certainly is growing, right? And we hope to grow more, right? We hope to go deeper, and I'll let Joe speak a little bit more too. But we found a grant, we got grant money, so it's kind of neat. It's well supported by the university all the way up to the chancellors. I mean, Joe's been dealing with vice president of academic services and the dean of students as well, allowing students to get this food, right?
So I do want to jump into kind of what this looks like as it gets to the student, because you mentioned you have some chicken, some rice. Like how do you put all that together and make it not be kind of like a messy hodgepodge? But one thing you mentioned is like, you have this family meal in your kitchen, and then it's going to go somewhere where it's doing great work, the things that you're talking about. But I know from my personal experience that number one, the students in my class are energized about this because they know it's going somewhere. But it also has this sort of hidden like educational component, which is, we all know that food safety is a big part of our curriculum, but it kind of leads students to prioritize cooling, storing, labeling. Like I've never had students fill out pieces of scotch tape with the allergies before until this program came around, because they were legitimately concerned. They're like, oh my God, like we have people that don't have food at a culinary school, and now we're going to give this food to them. Like I'm going to make sure that it's cooled down properly. So for me, as like sort of a selfish educator, like it's a win-win. Like we're feeding students and they're understanding the objectives behind like some of those sort of, tertiary, curriculum things like food safety. So Joe, does that like what other impacts are you feeling? And maybe you can talk a little bit about how this sort of looks as you begin to package it from like the club's work.
Right. I see that same passion you're talking about, the students, where they realize how important it is to cool things down. And then in the club, our club members, if we get stuff that is not correctly labeled or logged, to see that they get frustrated, and that it's the educational part too, that it's good they're getting frustrated, because they're like, they can spread the word to their classmates and throughout and say, guys, we need this to be labeled correctly, cooled correctly. When we receive the food, when it's delivered to us, we take a temp and we record the temperature. And they have I really think they have a blast doing it. If you go on this club's Instagram, you'll see there's some reels and whatnot. They're having fun, and it's a huge impact. And we just started new classes, and I was having two of my students from the leadership group to cool down some beef stew and whatnot. And I told them what's for. They're like, "Oh yeah, I kind of heard about that. What is that all about?" And I told them, and they're like, "Chef, that's awesome. How do I join the club? Like, I want to be a part of that." Like you said, it's opening up people's minds about food waste and insecurity. And I had a colleague come up to me and say that our club is the coolest thing that's happened to Johnson and Wales in 25 years. And me being a student there in the 90s, I said back then, what do we do with all this food? Like it's a shame. And now that we have had support from our dean and the university, I think it's great.
And it's not just food waste from culinary labs, it's food waste from pastry labs too, because I know I've given excess carrot cake and things like that. So as you're collecting all of this, what are those meals looking like that you're giving out? How are you composing them?
So, Tim, you want this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one, sure. So the what we do is we collect food from the lab. Well, we used to collect. You see that, and this is a great how we've seen this thing grow, right? Before we used to go around and collect, right? Students would go around. Okay, Chef Melanson, do you have anything for food recovery? And Chef Melanson may say, yeah, I got this beef stew. And is it temp properly? Yep, it's all logged properly. They collect it, and then we would centralize that. And then on a Wednesday evening, the club would come in, and volunteers. We've had sorority fraternities come in and help. And what happens is take all the food out the fridge. What do we have? And in the beginning, Joe would build meals, right? Okay, we have chicken, we have rice, we have green beans. Boom, there's a meal. Now Joe stands back, right? Because now the club, the students from the club, they are building the meals. Okay, what do we have this week? Okay, this is what we have. And then what about this? Well, what happens if we mixed this with this and we could get that? And so it's really become a real student driven where we just stand back and supervise. And of course, we're there if there's some issues or help needed and that kind of thing. But they do all the planning, they do the packing. We student involvement has grant money that they now just agreed to purchase all our containers for the spring semester. And again, this is another evolving piece because we used to use the old clamshells, right? The plastic clamshells. And then the feedback we got back from students was, I can't put that in the microwave. And so Joe and I sat down and looked at the problem. And I think we both decided it'd be great if it's microwavable, it'd be great if it's compostable. Right, so we've got 1 out of 2 so far, but we keep researching as students are demanding it, but we understand that if a student wants a microwavable container, then we should provide that because think about it, when they get back to their dorm, what do most dorms have? They have a fridge and a microwave. So Why would we not give them something microwavable? So that's how it's grown, right? And then on the Wednesday pack, the club members set up a QR code where they list the meals for the day. And then on a Thursday during our bake sale, between 12 and 2 was our distribution. And we don't ask if you're insecure. We don't ask if you have enough or if you don't have enough. You're welcome to take as much as you want. And we've had students that would shop for the whole week, right? Come with a bag and she used to load up and off she goes at the end. If there was more than enough at the end, she would load up and she would be prepared for the whole week. So you got to think about what's the long-term effect of that, right? Her learning, does her learning improve during the week because she had a good solid meal the night before or she had it for lunch before class, right? So the long-term effect of this is for us is huge, right?
So it's interesting because we know that eating a good diet has effects on your learning. And that's so important that you touched on that. It's also important that you mentioned you're not these pickups are not happening, behind closed doors in a dark alley. It's in a public setting. So that step to make this open to anyone, whether you're just really hungry or whether you're food insecure, I think kind of takes some of that anxiety or some of that awkwardness out of the conversation. And, no one wants to be seen as, poor or like scraping for food, but we know there's a reality there. So I think that that's a really important step on the club to take that step to ensure it just it's open and it's fair and it's safe and all that good stuff. How do you feel? And I'll go with Joe to this. What's the student response been from those picking up? Like, so that when you get there, like, are they happy? Are they grateful? Like, what have you seen from those receiving the meals?
Definitely happy. And Jamie, we have the biggest response when we do have the desserts. Those are the first
Yeah.
things to go, right? Like,
Yeah.
that,
Always.
and sometimes, yeah, always. And also the practical baguettes, that have been broken apart to see and whatnot. We kind of pair those with a soup and whatnot. But yeah, it's great. They're happy. And I've seen some students come back and say, "Oh, I know my class gave a beef stew that was good, or a fried chicken that's good," and they come and get that. And um, I think it's awesome. Whether or not you fit into insecurity or not, we all know that college students don't have a lot of money,
Sure.
right? And then and it's great that we do it on Thursdays for the weekends because they don't have to spend money for their late night food, right? They don't have to call for a pizza, right? They have fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans instead of spending money on a pizza. And sometimes that's how I sell it to like get my class is more involved. They're like, chef, there's a line. I said the line is for the bake sale, not for, the Wildcat Food Rescue. And I said, hey, don't buy that pizza tonight at 1 a.m. Microwave some fried chicken.
There you go.
And that response, pitching it that way is a huge response. In the fall semester, right, which was we did 11 weeks, we saved about 1,500 pounds of food, which equated to just about 1,600 meals.
Wow.
In just a semester.
And then, if I can jump in there, Joe. So that's what we diverted from the landfill, right? Potentially, although we do have the pig program, squeezed in between there. But the state of Rhode Island looks at it. You diverted 1,500 pounds of food from the Johnston landfill, and there's tax incentives for the university for that. So not only are we feeding students that need it, and of course we Joe and I certainly hope that those coming to get it need it. And if you not insecure, but you like fried chicken, hey, enjoy it, man. Go for it. But we also, the university can claim tax breaks back on diverting 1,500 pounds of food going to the landfill. And I'm sure we don't need to have the 100-year lettuce conversation on this show, but because again, the Johnston landfill is filling up, and if we're not careful, it'll become full, and Rhode Island trash will have to be trucked or trained somewhere, right? And you'll have to pay for that, and then guess what happens to the cost of trash removal in Rhode Island? It's going to go up, and Joe and I live in Rhode Island, so our taxes will go up, right? I mean, it's just like it's a big wheel, right? And we once spoke in that wheel, and I really like the fact that we are helping to solve or work towards solving two problems: food insecurity on our campus and diverting waste out of the landfill.
I think that it's great that you're bringing awareness to this, because I think a lot of times you don't think of that bigger picture. Even though we're a small part of it, we're making our students aware of it. We're educating them so when they go out into the industry, they'll also have that knowledge to be able to avoid putting food waste into a landfill and avoiding those bigger problems that we don't think about on a small scale at the school. But I do want to talk about looking forward. You mentioned one of your goals is to get compostable containers for your meals. What are some of your other long-term, larger goals that you'd like to see happen within your club?
Well, actually, we have one starting this semester. Through that grant, we were able to get a merchandising refrigerator. So we're actually have permission from Dean Evans, and we've changed our labeling, and we're going to pack that cooler, and it's going to, whatever food we have left is going to stay in there until Monday morning. So students that don't have the time to come to that window, which is 12 to 2 when we do the C-Fit Thursdays with the bake sale, they'll be able to come and get something throughout the whole weekend.
And if I can jump in too, what really works too is that, of course, as we know, because we're all involved in clubs, getting students to pitch up at the time they say or the time we need them is very difficult. Now with the refrigerator, fill it up. We can stick the QR code on the side of the fridge, and we don't need somebody to man it 24/7 anymore, right? Because it doesn't. Because before, we had these coolers from Canberra, and pack the cooler, and then somebody had to unpack it, and so we've taken all of that out, which makes it way easier too. And if somebody does feel anxious or embarrassed to walk up to our table on a Thursday, they can do it at 3 o'clock on a Friday morning now. Essentially, if they can get in the building, right, and take what they want or need, and move on. So it's extended our reach for sure, without a doubt, for to having it more available. And of course, it'll be first come first serve, as long as stock lasts, kind of thing. As long as the meals last. Um,
Right. So we'll pilot that this semester, and then in discussions with Dean Evans, the big picture is to maybe get another refrigerator and put it down city, so that we can, it's not just our campus, so that the students down city can get some food as well.
It's
That's
so
awesome.
it's so amazing that you're prioritizing the accessibility part of it, because I mean, yes, you're doing great work and you're providing this amazing service, but it is kind of crazy that like you would have to come at just these 2 hours. So that's such a huge step, and I like that the club is sort of prioritizing that as its next sort of big move. You mentioned the students, and I've been fortunate enough to know some of the students involved with the food rescue Wildcat Food Rescue Club. It is a challenge. I know this from running a club that almost any student at Johnson Wales or across any college recognizes your work as great. They recognize it as something that is valuable, but there's competing priorities, and students want to do more, but it's tough to balance that. And I think that you've alluded to a couple different sort of steps along the way where students can contribute. Is there any messaging, knowing that some of our listeners are students, that you want to share on how students can get involved in case they're like, oh, I'm an advocate, but I just don't have the time? Like, is there like, how can they get involved in what you're doing? And yeah, I'll just stop there.
Um, I tell students all the time, it's like it's not a huge commitment. It's their half-hour windows that we need help in hands. And some of our club members make it on Wednesday nights fun. They bring their friends, they bring their roommates, or they have friends who are in PM labs, and they stop by and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna go out, for a cup of coffee or whatever at 9 o'clock," and then somebody from the club says, "Hey, why don't you just jump in here for 15 minutes and we can go earlier by helping us get this done. I can get out of here quicker," and they jump right in. So it's not a huge time commitment. It could be Monday night for 30 minutes, or it could be Wednesday night at pack out for 30 minutes, whatever time. We have club members that are involved in other activities, and they're like, "Okay, chef, I got to go to gymnastics practice now." Fine, great. They were there for 30 minutes and helped us out on Wednesday nights. That and how four, it's a rotating door. Kids, some people come in, students help, and then they leave to go to their other activities. And then the same thing for just during Thursdays, 30-minute windows. That's all. I just thought we could break it down and say, oh, it's a huge commitment. Clubs, where everybody's busy. As a college student, you should have a lot of activities on your plate. Again, especially for our type of students in professionalism, like it will go a long way in their resume. So yeah, again, it's just 30 minutes. And as we've all been involved with student organizations, I have to say and give a shout out to our club president, Cameron Kennedy. She's been awesome.
Awesome.
And we're going to test it because she's on internship this semester. So let's see if some of her other members, friends, will jump in and do as well. So she seriously has helped us push it forward. We were struggling a little bit when we first started out with student involvement, but she is a rock star.
And
And
I
if
was
students, I was just going
sorry,
to ask if students want to join, are they signing up with you guys to sign up to be part of this club to help out in those 30-minute blocks? Are they coming to you?
yeah, they can. They can also go to the Involvement Network. We are listed Wildcat Food Rescue Club. They can sign up there, and then I hate to say admit them, but one of the club officers or Joe or myself will bring them into the fold, and then they'll be on the email list. I also want to say you don't have to be a culinary or baking pastry student to be involved, right? Like I said, we've had fraternities come down from down city where with different accounting majors or business majors. You don't need any special skills to come and collect food or pack food or distribute food with us. We will we will guide you in every step if you have no idea on food.
Yeah, once you become a member, internally we use the sign up genius sheet that says how many people we kind of need, and members sign up on that on a weekly basis.
That's so important because I mean we know that Johnson and Wales has so many roots in food, and a lot of people probably think Johnson and Wales, they probably associate food, but we have so many other colleges and programs at our sort of down city campus that you said right. It doesn't take a food handler's license to hand out a box of chicken and rice, and you're doing the good work. 30-minute intervals. I mean, I have a lot of kids, as you guys know. I could probably fit 30 minutes, and it's doable. So I appreciate you kind of making that approachable for anyone who wants to get involved, because I know a lot of our students do. So I guess as we sort of round this out, you mentioned you have an Instagram. Can people get in touch with you via your Instagram as well?
Yeah, that would be with the club president, and we have an officer who's in charge of social media. They could reach out there. Yeah, Wildcat Food Rescue on Instagram.
Right. So if you want to get involved and maybe you don't know how to use the involvement network or any of the sort of the university stuff, shoot them a DM on Instagram, and I'm sure they'll get back to you.
Correct.
Final words, guys. I mean, this is such an inspiring project, and I know you have plans for the future, but is there anything that, you would say to students that, again, kind of want to get involved, or maybe don't know where they could, what's your final send off for this amazing work you're doing?
Tim?
Yeah, so for me, I would say, ultimately we are all trained professionals, right? The four of us in this call just happen to be trained chefs, right? I feel strongly about trained people giving back, right? Whether you're a plumber, electrician, or a chef, doesn't matter. Our skills is taking raw ingredients and turning them into something that's edible. And there are people out there that do not have enough. And I think we've proven through the fall and collection, we have more than enough here due to the work that we do and how we do it. So by taking that, I think it's a responsibility as food professionals to take what we can that's recoverable for human consumption, and prepare it for human consumption and give it to people that need it. I just feel very strongly about that. The same as I would hope a plumber one day would help a family out that maybe doesn't have money to unclog the toilet or whatever, or an electrician to help put in a light or something like that. If we all just did a little bit, the world would certainly be a better place. And again, I'm not an electrician or a plumber. I happen to be a chef. So I'm very excited and driven to help within my abilities, which is food, right? And again, like Joe said, it's really not a heavy lift, right? When we first started, count your carrot peels. Yeah, okay, I'd admit it. It was a heavy lift. But now we've really honed the process down and streamlined the process where just a small amount of time that you can give the club will make a huge impact on somebody's life.
It takes a village, right? It takes a village. And so I just want to say thanks to Tim Brown and Joe Melanson. I mean, so inspiring. If you're on campus and you want to be involved, reach out to them in any number of ways that we talked about in this episode. We hope the best for you guys and continued success in your project. You are doing the good work, and thank you so much from us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And I want to thank the student body too, because it's awesome. It's the energy from it is awesome. And again, 30 minutes, that's all you need a week to help us out.
Yeah.
30-minute meals. Sounds like it sounds like a Rachel Ray thing, but I'm pretty sure that's copyrighted. But
yeah,
we'll work on
don't get us in trouble.
I give her credit. All right. Anyway, thanks guys for joining us, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Thank you.